you could see Comex default in a week and a half. I mean, you tell me what the number is on February 27th,
Mm.
and I can give you, I'll just give you rough odds off the top of my head what the likelihood of a failure to deliver is. I mean, if I'm going to say right now, if Comex has 100 million ounces or more standing for delivery on February 27th, I don't think we make it through the month of March. And if
Would
we do make it through the month of March, the Comex inventories will be 100% crippled, and the next delivery month will be the next not non-delivery but primary delivery month. That will be it, because they're already running, call it 40 million ounces per month in deficit. In other words, the world uses 50 million or 40, 50 million ounces more per month than is actually produced. How long can that go on? In Comex gold and silver, there's 4 out of the 12 months are primary delivery months. We had January and also this month, February, we've had double, triple, quadruple the amount of deliveries normally made in a non-delivery month. March it's a primary delivery month. The first notice day is the 27th. First notice day is when contract holders alert the exchange that they're going to stand for delivery. They're going to hold it through the month and they want to be delivered on their contract. So it's going to be interesting to see how many are standing the first day. There's only 103 million ounces supposedly unencumbered in the registered category for delivery. So looking at 103 million, I forget the number, it's over 400 million ounces are outstanding by contracts that are in existence today. So even if only a quarter of those stand for delivery, that's going to speak for all of the Comex inventory that they have. Now, what happens if 200 million stand or 300 million stand? If that were to happen and the silver does not exist or doesn't just magically show up to deliver, then they will have to force majeure. There's an argument, is force majeure a failure to deliver? Contractually, I guess, no, it's not, because it is in the contract that they can force majeure. They can claim force majeure, which means something out of their control caused them not to be able to make delivery. Well, you can argue whether it's out of their control or in their control. The bottom line is people who bought Comex contracts, if they're told, here, you got to take cash, you can't have silver, that basically shows that the Comex silver market is a fraud.
Bill Holter warns Comex will smash silver while China's away. But February 27th is first notice day. 400 million paper claims, 103 million metal. If a quarter stand, it's default credit freeze. And great, taking physical metal is the only exit. The whole fractional reserve system is a Ponzi scheme about to be exposed.
What happens if we have 100 million standing the first day and there's 100 million in inventory? People are going to look at that and say, hey, I got to get in line now. It'll be like blood in the water with a bunch of sharks.
Has anything like this ever happened in history?
Well, yeah, you saw it was somewhat different. You saw it in the nickel market 2 or 3 years ago, where nickel doubled, quadrupled within 48 hours, based upon it turned out that the inventories had been sold multiple times. So that inventory was not enough to make delivery. And what the Comex did was they canceled all the trades of those 2 days, which I can't believe there's not still serious lawsuits going on. I'm surprised that we don't still hear about it. But you're going to hear about other markets, silver and gold included, going forward, because it's a fractional reserve system, if you will. A Comex default will lead to credit grinding to a halt. Credit grinding to a halt destroys the real economy. It completely blows up the financial markets. And when financial markets blow up, you're going to have some losers. I mean, derivatives are derivatives are it's a closed game. There's only a winner and a loser. And if the loser loses so big that they can't pay, then the winner becomes a loser because they didn't get paid. And what happens is the losers they go into bankruptcy, they default basically, and then you have what David Rogers Webb talked about. You have the great taking. You have brokers that, in order to save themselves, they have to take client funds, which is now legal. That's not, I mean, you can sue all you want, but you'll get thrown out of court because the laws read that your bank, your broker, your insurance company, your financial institution is the legal owner of what you think are your assets. They're your assets in name only. In other words, it's for the benefit of you, but the institution is the legal owner. So your institution gets into a problem, they're going to take your funds. The great taking is 100% real, and I believe it's 100% going to happen. So
And
you've got to get out of the system. You've got to get your capital out of the system. If you think I'm crazy, only take 10% or 20% of your capital out of the system. At least you'll have something.
right. And I'd also like to point out it's much more difficult to bail out the Comex in a failure to deliver because yeah, they can bail out banks by just printing more money. They can bail out airline industries by printing more money,
Correct.
but they can't print more gold. They can't print more silver.
Exactly.
So,
Perfect.
so this is something that they can't just easily just turn the money printer on and solve the
No, they
problem. They
can't
can't just
print
throw
it,
money
and
at
it
it,
is
essentially. They can't throw
they
fiat, I
cannot
should
print
say.
gold.
Real money, I mean, it's a different story.
Right. Yeah, they can't print gold, they can't print silver, they can't print wheat, they can't print real assets. They can only print more contracts. And this is it's a problem of their own making over many, many years. And when I say their own making, I mean, let's go back, what was it, 2 weeks ago, when silver took the $35 drop in one day. You didn't hear a peep out of Comex other than, oh, and we're going to raise your margin rates. That's the only thing you heard out of Comex. What did you hear out of China? They shut down 6 entities. There was like 249 traders that were reprimanded. That when I say shut down the 6 entities, they're precluded from trading for the next 30 days. So they took some very real steps against egregious naked short selling. Here in the United States, the CFTC, you didn't hear a word.
No. And do you remember, like, at the start of the year this year, there was like this rumor that there was a failure to deliver on the silver side of things from like some Chinese or some billionaire. I don't recall if it was a Chinese billionaire or not, but some billionaire was trying to get like a few $1 billion worth of silver delivered. And this is when things the power went out. You remember that?
Yes. Yeah, and that you can expect that to happen in all markets at some point when things are completely breaking. Well, first off, understand that there was a psyop, if you will, going back to 1971. 1971, when Nixon closed the gold window. There's been a psyop in the West. Gold bad, dollar good. When I say dollar, I'm including, other Western fiat currencies. So there's been a concerted effort to steer people away from the safety exit, steer people away from gold and silver. I mean, go back 25 years ago, you had central banks in the late 90s selling gold, and the headlines, people were always looking for headlines, which central bank is selling. And it culminated with with Brown. They call it the Brown bottom in 1999 when when Britain sold, I think the number was what, 60% of their gold reserves at some stupid number like $286 an ounce. And that turned out to be the bottom. When GLD and SLV first came out, I said that is a paper alternative to physical metal. And what that's going to do is it's going to siphon demand away from real metal because they don't have to buy metal. They can buy contracts and say, we have all the gold. Contractually, we have all the gold. But contractually versus physically, there's miles and miles of difference. I said the same thing about Bitcoin and the other cryptos. Basically, what they are is they're being shown as an alternative to fiat currency. So that brings in your buyers. But really, what it's been has been an alternative exit from fiat currencies into gold and silver. So it diverted demand away from gold and silver, which would have blown up years ago, in my opinion, if it was not for the crypto assets. And when all is said and done, I think crypto is digital air, and I think they're going to pull the plug. Everybody's going to lose what they put into it. But what it did was it bought the powers that be time before gold and silver got completely out of their control. But 100%, the Brics are moving in that direction. They've been moving in that direction for 10 plus years now. But now it's coming to fruition, and it would not surprise me within the next, 12 to 18 months to see the Brics come out with the unit. That's the name given to this point. Who knows what the name will be? But what's going to be the reaction worldwide? What's going to happen to financial markets when there is an alternative currency backed by something real competing with all these fiat currencies worldwide? The dollar, the yen, the euro, all those currencies are backed by nothing other than faith or confidence. I think that's mathematically a certainty. It's only a question of when that happens. But yeah, I mean, that is the big kahuna right there. Once credit begins to sputter or actually seizes up, that's going to affect immediately the real economy and the ability to get goods to market. And it will absolutely destroy the financial markets because everything, most importantly, including derivatives themselves, rely on credit. And if credit becomes difficult to get, the whole system comes down because by definition, when you're talking about a fiat currency system, a fractional reserve system, it is put together on the schematics of a Ponzi scheme. And a Ponzi scheme has to have new money come in at ever increasing rates. Otherwise, it gets exposed. The West has been wealthy for a long time. And you've seen a lot of selling, particularly in North America. You've seen a lot of Americans selling over the last 6 to 12 months. And the reason being, the cash flow is faltering. So people are getting squeezed. So what do? They sell what they can to continue their lifestyle, to continue life. So the West, the cash flow is failing, and you have people used to a higher standard of living, as opposed to the East, that's still a growing economic area. If you go back 5, 10, 20 plus years ago, anybody who was talking about where we are now and that your lifeboat was gold and silver, we were idiots. We're complete idiots. We were shouted down, but it turns out we weren't wrong. We were only early. And in this case, early meant you could have bought $300 gold. You could have bought $4 or $5 silver. You look like an idiot doing it. You weren't an idiot.